Hey guys, so if you've been following the stock market over the last few days to the last few weeks, you have probably seen that the market is extremely volatile and choppy right now, and honestly has no clear direction on what's going to happen within the next few weeks or maybe even the next few months of time. With Powell news and other sort of vaccine news kind of bringing down a lot of these plays, we haven't seen many moves rocket upwards or many companies that have been offering a solid opportunity for options traders or even swing traders in general. Now, that's why I want to present to you guys these sort of companies. Companies that trade outside of the US market and can potentially continue increasing even throughout tough economic times. Now, JD.com and Baba are two of these companies. And what essentially these are e-commerce platforms similar to Amazon or similar to Etsy, etc., that are essentially benefiting from the fact that a lot of people are having to stay home right now. Now, if we look at JD, you can see that in the last month, they've actually gained around $5 of value and even more if you would have caught them here at their low. And just in the last week, they are down. However, they had a rocketing day today. And I actually played this rocket day today and was able to gain a little bit of money. However, it all pulled back at the end of the day, and I'm going to explain why right now. So essentially with JD, they started the day off around $60 and came up all the way to 60, 70. It doesn't show it on Robinhood, but they were hitting this price. And my contracts were up around $20. Now, the play that I did buy is the $68 call, and I bought it with around a month or so of time, even more than a month. I bought them for July 31st. So this honestly secures enough time so that whenever they hit a month of time left, I can decide whether or not this contract is worth to continue holding or if I want to switch into another position. You can see that they had a high value throughout the day and even came up to be worth $20 higher than what I bought them at. Obviously, Robinhood doesn't show this, but they were a little higher. And at the end of the day, they had a huge spike off news that I'm about to talk about. Now, JD essentially is increasing and Baba as well because of this incredible news that came out of China when they had their shopping holiday. And essentially what their shopping holiday is an event similar to Black Friday, and you can see that they actually broke records in how many sales they had to handle during this time. Alibaba and JD.com handled over $137 billion in sales during the major Chinese shopping event. Now, this is obviously going to bode well for the future of these companies and is going to basically show that they are winners in a market where there may be a lot of losers coming up in the future here. Now, you can see that they were dumping down to around $58 and we're about to hit the $58 mark. And suddenly their price started to ramp up all the way till today's price of 60, 70. And essentially what I was telling my friend, and we were both in on the same play call here, the $68 call for for July 31st. And what I was telling him is that JD has a very high historical resistance around the $60.60 level and that it might bounce off this range. And that's exactly what we saw. Like I always tell you guys, it's important to draw the channels of where stock usually lies, where it usually bounces and has support and resistance, because with JD, we actually saw them come off this level pretty hard. As soon as they broke, they came back down and came all the way to around 59.80, which is honestly affected a lot by the fact that after hours they sold off another 18 cents. However, they were holding around the $60 range before market close. So I'm not too worried about these contracts as they do have a month of time left, and this is news that is so positive that it can continue pushing a stock for more than one day. However, I want you guys to realize one thing from this trade, and that is that smaller stocks will be more affected than larger stocks when it comes to these single day moves. Now, you can see that this small stock JD came up around $1 on the day and even $1.55 and then sold off to around $1 range. And honestly, this is good movement for a stock like JD that's worth only around $60. However, you can see that their price strength is much weaker than a company like Alibaba. Now, Alibaba also had a pullback towards the end of the day as news came out that actually the US and China were very close to coming into a conflict in the South China Sea. Now, this is huge news, guys, because in the last week, we've actually seen two news events come out about China, and that is that the trade deal that we were making with China, that we were pushing very hard, and actually the US was making a lot of positive progress compared to China in what the agreements were for that deal, had officially been canceled. And the stock market actually sold off as a whole. The SPY sold off around $2 as a result of this news. And then suddenly, the very next day, the same person who made that announcement came out to announce that the deal was back on. So a lot of people didn't know how to react to this news. And you can see here that this is as a result of that news that the markets were coming back on, that the deal was coming back on. The stocks skyrocketed, and then towards the end of the day, when they announced the conflict that might be coming in the South China Sea, the stock suddenly sold off around $2. Now, JD sold off a whole dollar, or around 50 cents, whereas Baba only sold off $2 around on the day. So essentially, Baba had an $8 move today. You can see, and even after hours, they're still carrying this move. Whereas JD had a lot of a bigger sell-off and a lot more price weakness and wasn't able to break through these key levels. Now, if JD would have been following Baba all day, you can see that their trend is very similar to Baba. And honestly, what I tell people is that sometimes these smaller stocks that are very similar in nature are going to follow very closely the larger stocks and the larger news as a whole, which is that the market for these Chinese goods and the market in China is recovering as of right now. So I would expect JD to run up to around this $62 range that they were when the market was at its high in about a week to 2 weeks time, because of this strong news and because of the fact that China is recovering. Now, if we do see some kind of correction on the South China Sea news and the two countries don't have a conflict or any sort of or personal relation in that area, then we could probably see JD to continue increasing to the $62 level, like I said, and the $68 call will probably be worth around $150 based on other options that are around two rungs out of the money at right now. So essentially what I'd say is, if you are going to copy this play, make sure you buy it at the open because it is going to be at a good price, or wait and see if there's going to be an overnight pullback on JD. However, I wouldn't be able to tell until around 1 a.m. Pacific time, which is when the pre-market is open for California. So essentially, guys, just keep a close eye out for these Chinese stocks because they did pull back substantially here, especially JD, and have a lot of opportunity to continue running into tomorrow. Now, Baba also has an opportunity to continue running into tomorrow. However, their move was so much more substantial that I wouldn't recommend you to go in on this one unless you're extremely confident that the move will continue, because there's probably a lot of hype surrounding the options, and a sharp pullback could cause a sharp sellback as people are less confident that they can continue growing versus JD or versus other Chinese stocks. Now, I was also checking out the Chinese stock Baidu because they do make chips and are a big rival to AMD, Intel, etc. However, they did not have as good of a day today as these other Chinese companies did. You can see that in the beginning of the day, they started selling off, and then towards the afternoon, when the South China Sea news came out, they actually sold off very heavily and even came into the negative for a couple seconds, but however were able to recover to around break even after hours. So yeah, this stock isn't really related to the shopping news, so they didn't get a huge bounce. However, watch out for a lot of these other Chinese stocks that could be potentially bouncing and laggers and leaders in this market for Chinese stocks. Now, a lot of people like these stocks because, like I said, they don't follow the SPY too closely and are able to have a mind of their own on whether or not they are growing or shorting at any current time. And with this news that just came out, we are honestly seeing a very good time to buy into these Chinese stocks because they've had multiple pullbacks in the last month as a result of the South China Sea news, of the trade deal news, of Trump news, and other news that has been happening in the last few weeks here. So yeah, if you guys are trying to buy a quick good play, I would definitely recommend you to be looking at these Chinese stocks because they can move a lot in a single day, and there are tons of news coming out from China right now, and as a result of the trade war and of the fact that they are the originating region for this new sickness that is taking over the world, unfortunately. So a lot of people are very critical of what's happening over there, and fortunately this causes volatility for us as traders in the market, and we can profit off this, which is essentially what I'm trying to help you guys do here. So as always, Keep an eye out for these stocks. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video, and good luck with the plays.